an Akashic record reading for Surrender and Transform. Okay, so I have 4 crystals here, and I've also got some guides coming up. I already had some guides coming up actually when I was retrieving the code name from them. Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and get into the crystals first. Okay, so this is my Tiger's Eye Jasper. And this has a lot to do with grounding, being physically grounded, so being in the present. There's a lot of mental energy with this. For this particular reading, though, it feels like being mentally centered, mentally focused. And then I have my purple fluorite. So purple fluorite has to do with psychic protection. It has a lot to do with clairvoyance and different psychic abilities in general. Cleansing your auric space as well, but then it also helps with focus, actually, mental clarity, and keeping your thoughts centered, being mentally present, just like I was saying with the Jasper. And then the last 2 I have are both heart chakra crystals. So this is my rose quartz. And all of these I just pick out intuitively before the reading, whichever crystals that I feel. So rose quartz has to do with relationships. It also has to do with inner happiness, joy, comfort, healing, and also like harmony with a group. Or it can even be with one other person. It can be a group of 2 people. It can be a group of multiple people. It can also be kind of like what I was saying before, sort of your inner harmony with your own self. If you almost think of yourself as another person in a sense, your relationship with yourself. And then I have my green fluorite here. So green fluorite, this is also a heart chakra stone, and it's very, very calming and serene. It's extremely healing, not only for like your physical body and your mental body, but also for your emotions. It's very grounding, it's very calming, very centering. So it helps you to be very still, again, with your thoughts as well, to be centered with your thoughts. That seems to be coming in a lot with the different crystals. So I'm going to go ahead and tap into your guides here. Of course, they're already communicating, since there's specific things coming in about the different crystals, and that's how I receive all of it, but I'm just going to tap into them a bit more. So I have one behind me. This is definitely female, but there's a group here. So when I was receiving the code name, there was one image that kept coming up again and again. You might not be familiar with this with this particular guide. A lot of times when I do the reading, people do tend to be familiar with their guides. A lot of times they'll know who I'm talking about. Sometimes I get a feeling like the person might not necessarily know a particular one, but they kept showing me this image. First they were saying transform. They weren't saying surrender yet. They just kept saying transform. And I kept seeing these wings. It looked like these butterfly wings. And it looked like a person, like a humanoid person, but they had, like, it almost looked like antennas at the top of their head. So almost a kind of, I feel like this is some kind of extraterrestrial is more what this feels like. It could be kind of fairy-ish, but it definitely feels like extraterrestrial, even if it is connected to some kind of fairy realm. It feels not necessarily from this Earth system. It feels like they're from some other planetary system, some other planet. But this one behind me feels female and much more humanoid, and then I definitely have a male as well. And this male keeps coming in with kind of light hair and very tall. Almost makes me think of like an ascended master or someone, but I don't really feel like they are an ascended master. But just the kind of appearance that they're coming in with and kind of the light that's coming off of them, it's like they're kind of glowing this sort of white or kind of golden kind of light. Like a lot of times you'll see with the ascended masters, a lot of the pictures of them, they'll have like kind of long blondish kind of hair. And his is kind of, it's almost like a golden, almost like there is kind of a tint of almost brown to it, like, but almost like a golden kind of blondish color. And wearing all white. So just by the appearance, the way that he's coming in like that, he almost appears like an ascended master, but I don't really get that feeling from him. I do feel like he is most likely a master guide. That's the feeling from him, but I feel like he is around you quite a bit. Whereas some master guides, they're a little bit further back. Some of them, it's like they step in at some points, they step back. And that tends to be what master guides generally do. So for you, that might be the case as well, but at least at this point, he's very close to you. So that would signify, since he's a master guide, that would signify some kind of inner development, some kind of growth and shifts that you're going through in a spiritual way, where you're developing more, you're evolving more. Okay, so I'm going to look at these questions that you have here specifically. These are more statements in some ways, so I'll see how they want to address these. Okay, so the first thing, there's a feeling from your guides, almost like you tend to think of yourself in kind of a royal way. Like you are very different. You can feel that your energy is unique. You can feel that your energy is different. And at the same time, there's almost this grounded feeling, like in a sense, like you belong here. I don't necessarily mean like, oh, I'm on Earth, I fit in, and I belong with human beings and that kind of thing. No, but like this feeling, like I'm here, and like there's almost this sense of kind of owning it, owning that you are here. So you have presence, in other words. You have a certain presence in your demeanor, the way that you think of yourself, the way that you look at others, not in like an arrogant way, in a way like you know who you are, you know that you are different. There's a feeling as well like you can be outspoken, but it doesn't feel like in a harmful way. It also doesn't feel like an arrogant way, like a cocky way, when they're saying this. Like you know who you are and you have this kind of demeanor with you, this like presence, like they were saying. Um, they're saying like it's a powerful feeling, like it's an empowered feeling, and it's a very positive thing. So it's not looking down on others. It's like respecting yourself is what it feels like. There's this kind of almost kind of goddess warrior kind of energy with it, almost like if you were to think of um like Athena or someone like that, or like the Viking warrioress goddesses. There's a feeling like that with it. So you're owning your own power is what it feels like. And it feels like that comes to you from somewhere, lifetimes that you've had, where it just feels like you knew your place. So even though you can come here and being in this lower energy, people can tend to feel, unworthiness and things like this at different times. So they're not saying that you never go through something like that, but there's always this other feeling to tap into. There's always this other feeling that's there and that's very present with you that you can always harness. There's this feeling of I don't know if it's Wonder Woman, one of those Marvel characters. She's the one with the shield, but she's also like a goddess in this other realm, and she comes to Earth and she has these powers. I didn't see that movie, but I think they keep sending me this image and reminding me of this character. I think I saw a trailer or something for a movie like that. Um, but it's like she's this princess, so she has this authority and kind of this dominant energy in a way. She knows her place, but at the same time, she's humble. She's not coming to Earth and treating all these humans in like a harmful way. She's trying to protect them and save them and help them. So she is knowing her place though and who she is. So there's a difference with that. But that's the feeling with this. And you've been to different places, definitely, but there is this one feeling there. There's definitely an Arcturian energy, for sure. So this kind of feels like this teacher kind of energy. A lot of Arcturians, they feel very qualified to be teachers, healers, thinkers, philosophers. And they tend to bring through like a lot of wisdom that they've harnessed from this other place. And they can kind of think of the different problems and how to solve them, but more through teaching, more in like a kind of philosophical type of way. Like they're not just going to go in and start fixing all of the problems necessarily, but they're going to talk about how to fix them, and it's going to be especially in a kind of inward way. looking at yourself and healing yourself and different aspects of yourself and getting more spiritually aligned and helping people to do that. So there's a lot of inner. There's this very, very tall, kind of peaceful, extremely peaceful energy that comes through a lot with Arcturus. That's why they're such good teachers. That's why they're such good healers. And it's so funny because I'm remembering you were asking this question about being seen and letting yourself come through in this way. That's what's pretty funny about this. So that's like, with the energy that you have, that's almost like just being blocked in general from being yourself, almost is the feeling of that, because that's just kind of your general energy. And even if you have this other thing, I know that that's something that you can tap into. That's something that you can definitely feel that's there. Like, sort of behind everything, behind these fears and things, this other side is there in a sense, or this other self is there in a sense that that wants to come through. Okay, so I have to get a little bit more relaxed to start receiving more of the past lives. Oh, but they're reminding me about something else that came through that I need to say really quick, which is, I don't know if I should look this up or maybe you can look it up, but it was a pig totem. And it was actually, it looked like a baby pig. It looked like a piglet. And coming in with like a lot of joy. It felt like it could laugh or like start giggling, almost in kind of a really kind of kitty kind of way, it seemed like. And very like open to possibilities, very, very joyful. This animal totem was very, very joyful, very innocent. But then at the same time, knowing its place at the same time, which is why it feels so open to receiving abundance and receiving different positive things for itself. Your guide comes in with different flashes of gold. Okay, so there's this feeling like these psychic abilities that you have, these have definitely been developed before. They're showing me a woman. She looks like you, but she's dressed in black, and she has a raven with her. So ravens, this is a totem that tends to symbolize communications and messages from guides, messages from spirit in some way. It can be any kind of guide or loved one who's crossed over. It can even represent just in general your intuition or your connection in some way to the other side or to the divine. It can also represent some kind of like prophetic, almost like omen of the future kind of thing, or a message about your past. So it can foretell something as well. And it just sends messages. It feels like this is almost like this feels like physical. This feels, okay. So this isn't a pet that you have. I was thinking maybe this is an actual like bird companion who's like there with you in the lifetime. Okay, so in the lifetime you're connecting to this animal very much, and this is like your animal totem or like power animal even, I would say, in this lifetime. But physically you connect to this bird as well. So wherever you are, there are ravens and different there are ravens around that you're seeing. So when you go outside, sometimes you'll see a raven, but it feels like you're connecting to it in like a personal way, where it feels like it is your totem. There's also a bear, but this isn't one that you are ever seeing physically, but this is an animal that's there with you. There's also a feeling of at least one Native American guide, or maybe more. I also feel this feeling like at least one of these Arcturian guides are with you in that lifetime, but it feels like they're coming to you almost in a Native American kind of way in that lifetime. It feels like they can't exactly get across to you, I'm from this other planet, I live on, in the Arcturus system. It doesn't feel like they can really say something like that. Um, so it feels like they're coming to you in this shaman kind of way. That's something that you can receive, but it's also a way where they can get their type of energy across. So they feel like it resonates with them enough, it represents them well enough to come through to you in that way, where it's a similar enough way for you to kind of get the gist of their energy and allow them to come through with what they would want to say. So it's a way that you can accept, but it enables them to get through to you more and get through to you better. There's also a cat that they're showing me in this lifetime. You're definitely connecting with a lot of animals, but you think of them a little bit differently. You don't just think of them in the way that most people would think of animals. You kind of revere them in a sense. But you really see them as equals, and like they just communicate in a different way. In some ways you even feel in some ways like they are even above humans in some ways, in the way that they communicate and in the way that they can bring messages through. So there's almost this feeling of like spirit contact somehow with the animals. You feel almost like they're physical guides in a sense, like they bring messages with them. So you're very attentive when you see different animals. You take in the fact that there's a message for you with it. And you're really influenced by spirit in the lifetime. So mediumship is like your biggest ability in this lifetime. Astral travel is also coming up with this lifetime. And I feel like this is aiding you in this lifetime as well. Even if you're not experiencing astral travel exactly, or you're going out and astral traveling all the time, it still feels like it's aiding your connection to the other side and your guides and all of these things. There's also a lifetime in Egypt that's coming up. I'm asking them about this other place before they move into this one, but they're not really saying exactly where you were. Okay, but this Egyptian lifetime, this doesn't feel like ancient Egypt, the lifetime that they are referring to. This feels like a little bit after, not necessarily a little bit, but this feels like after. It doesn't feel like ancient Egypt. Okay, in this lifetime as well, you're really connecting to extraterrestrial energies specifically, and it feels like you're pulling that through. And it feels like you're female again in this lifetime, but it doesn't feel like it's really inhibiting you. And it feels like you have this kind of spiritual position again. It feels like as long as you maintain this sort of spiritual position in some of these lifetimes, then it feels like you kind of have this status. But it feels like you're usually a female person when you take on this type of role. I don't feel like always. I feel like there was probably at least one lifetime where you may have been male and had a kind of more similar role to that. But still, I don't actually feel like you went as far. I feel like in these lifetimes where you're female, you're almost getting further ahead. You're advancing more. It's like for some reason you're sort of allowing your abilities to come up more and out more and be expressed more when you're in that specific form, when you're in that specific gender and coming through that way. It feels like almost like a permission slip for you to allow your abilities through more. And the feminine energy, that is about going within. And so that is what enables your psychic abilities. It's more related to your inner self. Your masculine energy is more about manifesting. So it would make sense that that a feminine form, that you could allow yourself to express that more, to allow that through more in that sense. But this does feel a little bit more modern, this lifetime. It doesn't really feel like an ancient lifetime, but it does feel like an older lifetime at the same time. I don't know why they're not giving me really specific dates. It feels like it's before the 1900s though. But at the same time, it doesn't feel, at the same time, it doesn't feel really old. Feels like 17, 18, more like 18, I would say. More like 1800s. But they're just not coming in with a really definite feeling of it. I'm not 100% sure why. Guides, obviously, they come through with whatever they choose to come through with. For some reason, this form allows you to come through with your abilities more. So you know that for you, if you're coming right now in a female form, then there's something about your abilities that's more important for this lifetime. They're meant to be more pronounced, and they're going to be encouraged more in some way in this lifetime. You're going to end up bringing them out more. You're going to find that they come out more automatically on their own, but then also that you end up voicing them more. You end up letting them out more and feeling to use them more in this lifetime to bring your mission through. I feel like as a male, when you're a male in different lifetimes, it feels like there are different things that you're bringing through, but also different lessons that you are learning. And the journey just feels a little bit different as opposed to when you're in a female form, which is odd. I don't normally hear something like that when I'm retrieving the lifetimes from people's guides. They don't tend to say something like that. They don't tend to talk about a gender as a permission slip. But obviously anything can be a permission slip for someone. It just depends on what you determine that to be for yourself. But it's almost like your soul's permission slip. So your soul is coming in that way on purpose to almost tell you to use those abilities more frequently, but then they're also more harnessed and they're just more clear. But it does help you in your lifetimes as a male just for the reason that it is more harnessed. You've kind of gathered more of that energy. Kind of on a soul level, you've encouraged it more. So you've let it come through more physically. So you're bound to be more intuitive when you're a male, but it's not necessarily going to come up so much as straight up psychic abilities. Or if it does, even in the few lifetimes where maybe it does, it feels like you're still not going to go as far with it. You're not going to take it as far or use it to the same extent that you would if you were in a female form. Even if you do have a kind of spiritual role, it feels like you're still not going to use your psychic abilities quite as much. Even if you have them, they're not going to be quite as pronounced. And also you're just not going to feel intuitively as strongly to use them. And it feels like they're not going to be as needed in the lifetime. Okay, so this butterfly guide, they're showing me this image of this butterfly right over your head, like where your crown chakra would be, and it keeps spinning. So this guide specifically, this butterfly looking guide, is directly having to do with your psychic abilities. A lot of times a person will have a guide that, it's like different guides have different areas. People tend to have a couple of primary guides, which means those two guides just focus on everything with the person. But then they tend to have guides that have a sort of subject that they completely work with that person with. They only work with that person when it comes to that subject pretty much and helping them with that specifically. So this guide, it feels like specifically, this guide is helping you with your third eye, your crown chakra, and just in general, your psychic abilities is what it feels like. Your psychic abilities, your mediumship, healing abilities, any kind of metaphysical ability like that. This guide would help with. Now then you have your master guide as well. And your master guide is also helping you with, feels like almost retrieving your psychic abilities, or like bringing them up more and enhancing them more, using them more. It also feels like some of these fears that you were referring to, and not being seen and things of that nature, it also feels like it affects your psychic abilities. It feels like this is something that would make you more seen. This is something that would make you more heard. It's something that would make you stand out a bit more. There's a feeling also like this is something that would be fun, though. It would be something that you would enjoy. It would also intrigue you. So it would keep your attention. It would keep your focus. And that's also something that you need. Because there's a feeling like your mind tends to need some kind of stimulation, something that will kind of keep it almost fixed on doing a certain thing, or fixed on thinking about a certain thing, to kind of keep it present and keep it still and centered, like they were speaking about before. And yeah, that is kind of a contrast, because they're talking about stimulation and at the same time they're talking about stillness, but what they're especially talking about is focus. Even if you have thoughts going through your head, you're in the present. You're not thinking about just everything, God knows what. You're thinking about specific things. You're focused on the present. Part of this almost has to do with a fear of your own power, or almost a fear of doing something bad or harmful. Because there's a feeling almost from past lives, even like someone can do something like that. Someone can do something harmful with psychic abilities, or even with intentions, like something like witchcraft or incantations, things like that. There's a feeling like someone can cause some kind of harm if they wanted to and they were advanced enough. There's also a feeling, though, like the people who get really, really advanced with this stuff, they have to be good. They have to have a good intention. You can only get so far with a kind of evil, in a sense, intention, or wanting to do something that is bad or harmful to someone else, or even to yourself. You're only going to be able to get so far with those kinds of motives. Just because it feels like the universe is going to see that. And the universe is ultimately going to respond to that. They might give you chances, but if it continues, you're still only going to be able to get to a certain level. You're only going to be able to get so far with advancing your abilities. So someone with a good intention is always going to be able, they're always going to have the potential to advance much further than someone who has harmful intentions. They also keep showing me this Egyptian light. I feel like it's the same one that they were bringing up before, but they're showing me this dancing. They just keep showing me this image of dancing, this female, and she's dancing. They keep showing me that. It looks like, I don't know exactly what it is. I don't know if it's belly dancing or it's some kind of, it looks like some kind of Persian or Arabian, Middle Eastern kind of thing, it looks like. And it doesn't feel like you are stuck or you're bound. It doesn't feel like you're bound by your gender. There's just this feeling like you can do whatever you want. You feel very protected. You feel very safe. You feel very empowered. You feel loved as well, it feels like, by people around you. There's like a lot of positive feelings with almost with a group, it feels like, with human beings. You don't really feel any ill will coming from them. They just keep sending this feeling as well, like you feel safe, you feel included. You feel able to express yourself. You feel able to express your abilities psychically. They keep there's this feeling almost kind of similar to how gypsies feel a little bit, where it's like they'll have like different abilities that they want to almost in a sense showcase, but they also will dance and do things like this. So you're feeling very creative and also very psychic and intuitive, and those are kind of intertwined in some ways. And you're kind of an oracle in a sense. There's also a feeling like some people would almost think of you as a little bit lower class in some ways, only by your status in a sense, but not like what you're born into, but not by how you're behaving or how you're coming across. At the same time, people are going to you for advice, it feels like. You have all these abilities, and people almost want to ask you questions and things. It feels like people are really open to you. And it feels like people are kind of drawn to you. A lot of people, they're even drawn to the way that you physically appear. They're also drawn to your abilities, your personality in the lifetime, and just kind of your general energy and your general nature and output. It feels like some of the ways where you're kind of more open in this lifetime, you are a little bit more reserved in this lifetime. It doesn't feel like you are that free. That's almost why your guides want to kind of remind you of this lifetime, it feels like. Because a lot of the same energies are there and they are present with you. It's just a matter of being open and letting them out. Also, expecting good, it feels like, and expecting good from humanity, expecting good to come back to you. From people, though, it feels like specifically from people. So there's almost this kind of fear of people, how people react and how people respond, and what people do or what people say. But at the same time, there's still this energy like it doesn't matter to you. Even if in some ways it does, there's still this feeling there like it doesn't matter to you, because there's still that feeling like you know who you are, and that kind of stance that you have, that kind of presence that you have that they were speaking about before. In some ways it feels like they want you to kind of get back to this other lifetime. In some ways you've progressed, so you've definitely added things to your arsenal that you have with you now as a soul in this lifetime, because you've learned more. You've also collected more, though, at the same time. It feels like, especially in kind of the past few Earth lifetimes specifically, it feels like. Not the last few lifetimes somewhere else. And it feels like those are some lifetimes where you can kind of let go of this Earth stuff for a while, kind of think about something else, breathe some fresh air, be in some new energies. But then when you come back here, you're kind of hit with some of this old stuff and some of these karmic lessons and stuff that it doesn't really feel like you have out there. There, it feels like you're more gathering things that you're going to bring here. It feels like you've been coming to Earth for a while as well. So there's almost something that you are preparing for. So even if you have smaller kind of missions in each lifetime, there's almost something that you want to do on Earth in particular. And I don't know if you're even necessarily going to be doing that in this lifetime. If it is in this lifetime, there would be a lot of shifts that would take place, which would be almost why it's feeling to me like a future lifetime almost. So it could be either of those things. But here in this lifetime now, it feels like you are recalling some things. You're also harnessing some things when it comes to your abilities, but also this empowered feeling that you have, and this Arcturian energy as well. That's something that you have to bring through more and harness more. And just expecting good from other people, and that is what you're going to get, and that's what you're going to experience. I feel like with the relationship question, I feel like you really need to work on yourself. And that's why your guides are so much focusing on that, especially, and your self-empowerment. Because you don't want to attract someone out of this feeling almost like someone else is meant to almost show you that or bring you that. So I feel like once you've really developed that more on your own, then they'd be able to talk more about relationships with you. That doesn't mean necessarily like another reading from me. I mean like however they get that through to you. They're saying that you have a lot of intelligence, that you're very clear-headed in some ways. So even though there are some areas to work on, when it comes to like focusing and mental clarity, like they were talking about, at the same time, there is still this intelligence and this level-headedness. They are present just all the time. But they want you to almost play more and be free and feel free. Feel that same feeling of freedom again and lightheartedness again, where you don't have to take yourself so seriously. And they're also saying that it's okay to fail. There's also a feeling of you in a lifetime. They're showing me this picture where you're like scrubbing the floor. It looks like they're showing me this lifetime where it feels like you are subordinate. And it feels like you are more like underneath. You're washing floors and you're cleaning, but it's not like a job. It's not like you're getting, a good pay or something like that, or any pay at all. It doesn't feel like that. Again, you're a female again, but this is feeling like you are a servant. It also feels like you're not treated that well. You're not treated really, really badly, it doesn't feel like. You're just kind of treated like most servants are treated. Um, you're just where you're not really thought of. You're just called on to do whatever this person or these people would want. But the image that they keep showing me, you have this angry look on your face. And it's like you hate being subordinate. You hate feeling underneath. You hate that because you're not. There's this feeling like you're not. And you hate that they are saying that you are, or they're trying to make you feel this other way. And you think about leaving somehow, leaving this situation all the time, and how you could do that. But it would be difficult for you to do because of money and things like this. Like just this sense of how would you be able to do it. But at the same time, it feels like you have almost creative abilities. It doesn't feel like you're using psychic abilities in this lifetime, but it does feel like you're creative. It feels like there are things that you're able to do, like maybe it's like sewing or things like things that you're able to make, it feels like. So it also feels like you have some skills beyond just cleaning. And so you think about ways that you could support yourself or things that you could do. There's even like weird, like kind of, you'll almost think of anything, like even maybe you could dress like a man or get away that way almost, or like pretend that you're someone else somehow. It doesn't feel like there are a lot of things that you can do as a woman in some ways. There's also even a feeling like you wish you were a man, but not because you feel anything exactly towards being a woman. It's again because of this feeling like people are putting you down and they're saying that you can't do certain things that you would want to do, and that you feel like you are definitely able and capable of doing easily, even better than a man. You feel like, and I also feel like that's actually very true, definitely to a degree, in the lifetime. Feels like there are a lot of things that you would be highly capable of doing equally or beyond the average. whether it's of a man or a woman, when it comes to certain things that you do well. It does feel like you get away as well. And it feels like they're not able to find you or anything. It also doesn't feel like they care that much about finding you. They'll just kind of hire someone else. Not really hire because they weren't exactly paying you. Um, or if they were, it was not very much. I do feel like they might have been paying you something, but I don't feel like it was like fair pay at all. And it doesn't feel like you're able to save any money or anything like that to leave. Or like you really have any money at all, really. Your guides are saying that you have the ability to be very aware of who you are and like this presence that they have been mentioning. Like, no matter what's happening around you, no matter what position you're in or what circumstance you're in or who is telling you otherwise, there's still that feeling there. It feels like in this lifetime, though, it was very dominant. It was really coming out. It feels like with all of your lifetimes up to a certain point, this was more seen in a sense. Now it's still very much there, but it feels like it's a little bit more, it's not that it's diluted in any way. It's still there just as much, but it's that it's a little bit more blocked or hindered from almost revealing itself fully. They keep showing me this gun. This is something that they were showing me before. They keep showing me this image of a gun. almost like if someone were to hold a gun to your head, and this feeling almost like they have all of the power. They can kill you if they want to, and it makes you feel extremely afraid because you can't really do anything about that. So it feels almost like your power is kind of taken away. So I need to go into this a little bit more, see if this is almost like some kind of symbology or if this is something from a lifetime. Okay, they're showing me a train. And they're showing me you, again, a female. They keep showing me so many female lifetimes. You're a woman on the train. And I keep getting two images. I keep getting an image of an older woman and an image of a younger woman at the same time. But it's the same person. But it feels like you're young, like physically you are young. But probably around the same age that you are now, or maybe a bit younger, like maybe a teenager, or like early 20s, something like that. In the picture, you're wearing all white. Feels like you're very pure. It also feels like you're very sure of yourself. You're very dignified in a way. So it feels like physically you're very young, but it feels like inwardly you feel much, much older. So it's like you're carrying both of these images at the same time. And even if someone were to see you just by your physical appearance alone and see you as young and a female or this or that, it feels like once they kind of feel your energy or get a sense of you, like if they're speaking to you, or they don't even necessarily have to be speaking to you. Obviously, there are different ways that you can put your energy out and get it across. But once they kind of get a sense of your energy, they don't really feel that way. Like they're kind of not able to take you that way anymore in the same way that they might think of another person who is your same age and gender, or even just age. But there is something about gender coming in just because of the time period. Because this doesn't really feel like there are cars and things like that, even though there are trains. And you're wearing this very long dress, and you're also wearing this, looks like a bonnet or something on your head. Some of that though I feel like might almost be like symbolic, because it feels like you're very pure. It feels like your energy is, again, very dignified, where you know also that you are different and how unique you are. There's that feeling. And so in that sense, you almost don't let other people walk over your energy or touch your energy in that sense. But it feels like there's something that your guides are trying to get across that almost happens on this train. There's some kind of switch that happens on this train in this lifetime. I don't feel like this is the only lifetime where you've had something where it feels like somebody attempts to kind of drain you of this presence in a sense, where it makes you want to hide it, or it makes you feel like you have to, that's there, but it has to almost be filtered out through, they're saying excuses, almost like different excuses. The reason that they're calling it that is because they're saying that that's what fears kind of are, in a sense. Because a fear is like a fear is just, I don't want to do this. I'm not open to doing this anymore. This happened and now I'm not open. Now I'm closed off from being who I am in front of others. So a fear is, it's in a sense an excuse to not move forward, or not put yourself out in a kind of forward way. So your guide, and in particular this female guide I was mentioning before, she's saying that fears have to be conquered, they have to be faced, they have to be looked at, and they kind of have to be blasted through. If that's the energy and the effort that it takes, then we have to walk through them. At the same time, we have to follow our intuition, because sometimes a fear is legitimate and it's telling us to really not do something. Feels like someone stops the train somehow. This could be like, I don't know if it's bandits, or it could even be people who are already on the train. It feels like somehow it's somebody outside of the train, actually. I don't even know how that would work, but that's what it feels like. It feels like somehow somebody has gotten the train to stop somehow. Um, and there are things that they're carrying, like guns. It feels like they're using somehow the fact that you're female. There's one person in particular. There's some male in this group, because there's more than one person who gets this train to stop. It almost feels like there's someone almost leading it. There's someone who is doing most of the talking, and things like that. And it feels like it's not like a large group, but it's not really that small either. It's multiple people. It's at least a few people. And they're all wearing something over their face, and you can't really see their faces. But I don't feel like this one person is wearing something on his face, weirdly enough. I don't feel like he is. Or maybe your guides are showing it to me in that way to almost get across. There's almost this fearless kind of energy that he has. He's not actually fearless at all, obviously. But he's coming across that way. So it's almost like this false fearlessness, in a sense, is almost coming at you to almost combat this actual kind of fearless stillness that you have. It feels like they're using you to almost get what they want. It has to do, he is using the fact that you're young, that you're female, like your guides were saying, but the way that he's using it is almost to manipulate other people, to almost get them to do what he wants. So there's something that he wants from this train, which is why he stopped this train. There are different people on board the train as well. Some of them have money or like valuable items that they're carrying with them. And he wants those things. But there's something else as well, like on the train, that he knows is on the train that he wants. I'm not 100% sure what that is, but there's something that he wants that's on the train that is valuable to him, where he feels like he can make money from it. And he's using you. It's not like anybody knows you on this train or really knows much of anybody else on this train. So he's basically grabbing somebody that he feels like people will almost sympathize with. You're female and you're young. And so he almost has like picked you out of this group, it feels like. But it feels like he's demeaning you. He's making you feel afraid. Not making you, obviously. No one can make you, but he's projecting that and you're agreeing with it. You're accepting it. And it just has to do with he has a gun. There are multiple people who also have guns that are listening to this person. So it's making you, it's causing you, or you're reacting by feeling more powerless. But there's also this, there's this degrading almost feeling with it, where there's a shame that you're feeling. It's not just a fear that you're feeling, but you're feeling ashamed of feeling afraid. And it's actually because of this shame even that you're feeling that you want to be more hidden. And it has to do with others and what others think as well. That he's kind of drawing you out in front of other people and you're feeling these emotions in front of these people that you really don't like and that you don't like to show. And it feels like you're trying to hide your emotions as well and keep very composed. But at the same time, you have to do what this person wants. And at the same time, you're hoping that other people are going to do what this person wants, almost on your behalf in a sense. So at the same time, there's almost this feeling like in some ways you have to kind of let your vulnerability show in a way, even though you wouldn't want to. It almost feels like you're kind of forced to do that in a sense. So there's almost this feeling of you like very much going against yourself. Like that's not something that you would naturally do or naturally want to do or feel accustomed to doing. So he's kind of like putting you in this position that you don't like. And your guides are indicating that this is kind of where this starts. And then there are some other lifetimes, but not really that many. And it doesn't feel like this is like that long ago. But there aren't cars and things, I don't feel like. But obviously there are already trains, there's already guns. So probably pretty soon after there would have been cars and other technologies like that. Okay, so I'm coming to the time frame here. So I'm going to see if there's anything else that they have to say quickly. It feels like after that, even though there haven't been that many Earth lifetimes since then, it feels like though after that, um, there was this feeling attached to that that went into the next lifetimes. There's also this feeling of almost regret or pain, but it's not just from that experience, it's then from other lifetimes as well, but you really don't like showing those kind of emotions. You really don't like feeling fear. Okay, so that is all that they have to say for this reading. Thank you very much for allowing me to do this reading for you. I truly hope that this benefits you. Thank you very much. Namaste.